Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back now with Carolyn C.J. Jones. So excited to have our friend, speaker, coach, consultant, author, all in one here with the live Zoom and also here live on the air. Welcome back. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jill. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to get to speak with you and see you in person. If you don't know, if you're listening at home, we are doing the live Zoom as well. So Carolyn C.J. Jones, please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers today.
Well, I am Carolyn C.J. Jones, and I'm coming to you from Novato, California, which is about 30 minutes north of San Francisco.
And unfortunately, I have to see what happened to this arm. I have to bring it up. I see there's a cast on you. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm walking with a walker because I'm having back problems, and I tripped with my walker. I got it tangled up in something, and I went down and I broke my little finger pretty badly. They had to do surgery to reset it.
Oh, my goodness. Are you going to be okay?
I hope so. I'm sure I will be.
Oh, well, good. Keeping positive is obviously what you know to do. And you've been talking to us for quite a few weeks, and I love the fact we're here seeing you today. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and give us a little bit of your background, Carolyn? Thank you.
Okay. I work with mostly women to help them get to a point where they can release resentment, forgive, and from that they find peace and freedom. I myself went through this as a healing modality. I spent 30 adult years as a very angry, bitter, blaming victim all over my childhood. I drank and drugged over it that whole time, and until I crashed and burned. I finally got sober, and 4 years into it, I discovered a way to forgive my past.
Mm-hmm.
It was immediate peace, and it was immense, the peace that I felt. From that, I started doing forgiveness work with people so that they too could resolve their resentments and learn to live in peace, because it's a wonderful place to live.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your journey, your experience, and it's what made you who you are today and those that you help. So how could you help our listeners today? What types of things do you focus on with your women clients that can really help them? I mean, from loss of a spouse, grief counseling, and also anger, right? I mean, a lot of people going through relationships and had hard times. So could you give us some examples of your clients and the type of people that may be listening that can really relate to you, Carolyn?
Yes. Let's start with a resentment. When we are resenting, we're doing three things, according to Fred Luskin, who's a PhD psychologist and a forgiveness expert. The things that we're doing are, we are taking the event too personally. We are blaming the offender for our feelings. And we are telling our tale of woe over and over and over again to whomever will listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was me. I told my story over and over again. Well, anyway, there's a solution to each of those, but I want to jump in to the last one, telling our tale over and over again. Instead of telling that tale, we can sing a song of a hero. To do that, ask and answer three questions. The first one is, what is the positive that has come about because of this experience? And then ask, what is the lesson I learned?
Okay.
And
Good
finally,
questions.
what the question, and what can I be grateful for? And when you ask and answer these three questions, you become grateful for something. You really do. And that is inspiring for others as well as for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely is. Wow. And so are you. CarolynCJJones.com. Want to point out the website there. And at this time, let's talk about the group coaching you do. You do individual coaching as well. Is there any sessions that are set up that you're currently enrolling people in, or do they go as you get the calls?
I do both, but
Okay.
right now, actually, I'm enrolling people in my book club.
Yes,
which
let's talk
means-
about your books.
Yeah, we meet every Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me, every Friday at 1 we meet, and we are reviewing this book, Opening the Gates of the Heart, A Journey of Healing.
Notice the
This
author.
is my
Yes, Miss
first
Carolyn
book.
C.J. Jones. Yep, that's your first book.
Yeah.
And when did you write that? And tell us a little bit about what brought you to write that book and what it is about. I think it's important for everyone to know.
That book is so special. It has a story. You see, I had no idea I was writing a book. I had no desire to write a book. Over here, I was photographing wrought iron gates,
Mm-hmm.
while over here, I was journaling every day. And I did the two along a parallel path. One day, after I had photographed the gate in February, it was November, and I was journaling in my journal, and I wrote, I have spent a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I have spent a lifetime. I can't remember it now. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. Take your time.
Let me just quote
No
it from the
problem.
book. Here it is. This is what I wrote. I have spent a lifetime spinning webs of terror
Love
and
you.
shame between the spires that stand as sentinels to my
Mhm.
heart. I just went, oh my gosh, where did that come from? Right?
Yeah,
I didn't write that, but I did.
but you did.
It was very deep, and it matched or described this image that not 2 weeks earlier I
Oh,
had
wow.
titled Webs of Fear. So all of a sudden I thought, wow, what other verses are in my journals that I might match up with other photos that I have? Because I had like hundreds of gate photos, literally 900 photos
Oh,
I
my
had of
goodness.
gates, slides. And so I started looking through my journals. I had 10 of them. And lo and behold, I found a bunch of verses that described images of gates that I had. It
Wow.
was at that point I knew I had a book. That was in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
In 2008, I had gone through it enough times, and I had 42 images of gates and verses to go with each. And I had ordered them in the order of the journey that I would recommend to someone who was trying to find peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so the book came to be, but for 2 years I was too scared to publish it because these were my journal writings. These were my personal writings, and I couldn't share these with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did. Someone in my life helped me get past that fear. I published it. It has since won many awards, including it is a silver medal winner for world peace.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just have to show you where we get to.
Please.
This is where we get to. This is peace.
Beautiful gate. So where are all these gates from? Where did you
Promise
take
of peace.
all these
Most of
pictures
them are
from?
from Belvedere, which is a town in just across the bay from San Francisco.
Okay.
I was sitting in my sailboat that I used to live in with my ex-husband, only I was saying goodbye to him. And I was sitting in the cockpit and looked across the water across Richardson Bay at the land across
Yeah.
there. And I went, that's Belvedere. I've never visited. I hear it's a really great place. I'm gonna go because I've never visited. So I went, and that's when I discovered the gates. That
Wow.
was in June. And then in February, 2 years later, I came back to the area and photographed all those gates. And so that's how that book came to be.
Beautiful. Did you want to talk about your second book or still more on the first?
No, we
Please.
can move to the second.
Sure. We'll take a water or coffee break.
Yeah, water.
Yep,
It's
hydrate.
extremely dry out here.
Yeah, it's humid here
Yeah,
right
with
now
the
in New York, but
low
you
humidity.
uh-huh.
This book,
The art of
The Art of
forgiveness, the
Forgiveness
promise of
and
peace.
Promise of Peace.
Mm-hmm.
This book jacket, this book cover, was a gift by a woman I met at the senior center here in town. I was there charging my cell phone during a blackout when they used to turn our electricity off during the fire season. And I was charging my phone and I sat down next to this woman and we introduced ourselves. And she asked what I did. And I said, well, I'm a forgiveness coach. And she looked at me and she went, really? So am I. And we just, had an immediate
Bonded right
connection.
away. Wow. It's not
Yes.
often you run into the same type of someone in your profession, and especially that profession, right?
Well, no kidding.
Very
Who would have
unique.
ever known?
Yeah.
Well, we got to talking, and I was so excited about my book, which I was in the process of looking for a new book cover for. I was designing one. And I showed her on my cell phone different pictures that I had picked out. And she looked at them and she just went, Carolyn, I'm also a graphic designer, and I am going to design a cover for you free of charge. And this is what she designed.
Beautiful.
Wasn't that beautiful?
Absolutely. Wow. So now are you still friends? I mean, after all this, two forgiveness
Yes.
coaches, do you work together?
No, I hired her to do another book cover, and I haven't talked to her since then.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk about that book, The Art of Forgiveness. Explain that one to us. What inspired it and maybe some of the stories within?
This was inspired by the fact that, well, it's another story. One day in 2019, it was the end of January. I had just lost my full-time caregiving job, so I didn't have an income, although they had given me about a month's severance pay, so that was very nice. I'm making my coffee one morning, and I hear this voice go, Carolyn, write your book now. Write my book now. My forgiveness book? Yes, write your forgiveness book now. You see, I'd been wanting to write a book about forgiveness.
But you didn't have the time because you were busy working.
Right,
Ah.
and I didn't have the money unless I worked.
Oh,
So the voice went on to explain to me just exactly that I now had time and I had money, so write the book. So I did. I wrote it in like 3 weeks or a month. It starts out with, well, can I read the first paragraph?
please, please.
Okay, this is a good one.
Mhm.
Awakening is part one, and this is meltdown. Quote, the deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Unquote. That's by Khalil Gibran.
Mm.
The beginning. It was a lovely day on the bay. As I sat in the sailboat, tethered to the dock, the gentle waves lapped against the hull, soothing music to my ears. I looked forward to sharing some time with the dockmate I had grown to like. Imagine the shock when this person, the love of my life, the soulmate I'd searched for my entire life, burst out angrily, I have no feelings for you no more than anyone else. I was just being kind. I was blown away. absolutely blown away. I wanted to vomit. If I could have, I would have disappeared through the cockpit floor to be swallowed up by the murky, frigid water below. I couldn't even defend myself from his false accusation that I'd told others we were in a relationship. This was the worst humiliation and shame I'd ever felt. Ever! I suddenly realized I had put myself in the middle of a firestorm, one that I created by leaving my dysfunctional alcoholic marriage for the man who had just spoken these debilitating and heart-crushing words. That's the beginning of my journey to wholeness. What happened after that is I spent the next couple months getting drunk and crying, and that's all I could do. I couldn't even feed myself. And finally, knowing I was killing myself, I mean, I was really killing myself, I prayed to something I did not believe in. And I said, God, if there's a God up there, please help me. I can't do this anymore. Well, within the next month, it wasn't a month before, I was traveling from the Bay Area, San Francisco, down to San Diego to stay with my former bartender who was getting sober herself. So the two of us got sober together. And this book is about my discovery of forgiveness when I was 4 years sober. I discovered how to forgive my past. You see, what I drank over all those 30 years was my anger over my upbringing and things that had happened when I was a child. We all go through things when we're kids, you know? And I just hadn't gotten to a point where I had been able to get beyond those things. So when I forgave, it was a huge thing. That forgiveness only deepened, that peace deepened, the freedom from the resentment deepened, my feelings toward my parents deepened, and I was able to right our relationship. So that was a very beneficial thing and very heartwarming to be able to do that
Yeah.
and feel, a little bit more whole. This book is an explanation, a story of how that all came to be. And even more importantly, it describes a method of healing I created called the Yippy method of healing. And it's called Yippy. Hang on, I'm going to get some
Show me, show me.
water.
Okay, okay.
I named it Yippy so I could go, you could go, Yippee! I'm
Yippee!
going to find some peace, some
Yeah.
freedom.
Well deserved, right? After all that
Yeah.
time. And look at that
And
smile on your face. I could hear it in your voice. Now I get to see you though. And you could just see
yeah.
happiness, which is a good thing to be happy. So
Oh, it is.
what advice would you give to people out there who are down and out right now, not feeling well, drinking themselves out of their misery, not facing and confronting the trauma in their life, but they're searching, like you said, you didn't believe, but you reached up and you said, God, help me. You found help. And you're that help, right? You can help someone out there
I
today
can
that may
help
be
you.
going through something like this.
Yes, I can. I can help you. I've been there before. The first thing to do is just to give up. Give up trying to manage and control everything. Quit trying to manage it and just let go. And believe that there is something more powerful than you out there, no matter what it might be, whether you call it a doorknob, whether you call it the sky, the woods,
Yeah.
God, Allah, Great Spirit, whatever you might call this presence, this being, if you will, ask it for help.
Yeah.
Ask it for help, and that help will come. But you need to be aware of it when it comes. So I invite you to get help with your drinking if you're drinking a lot. You know, I once swore, and I wrote about it in a book, that drinking was far better than being sober. This was early in sobriety that I said that. And that's because I was going through and having to look at the pain in my life without any substances. That was really difficult for me because I'd always drank over them.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was that presence, that being that I prayed to, helped me get sober by sending me to my friend. And that was a blessing. So look for the blessings in your life. Look for them to come after you pray, if you call it praying, after you ask for help. Then start noticing the good things that are coming to you in your life and
Mm-hmm.
start focusing on those. Write them down as they happen so that when you get in a funk that you can look at what you've written and say, oh yeah, this beautiful thing happened. And just keep doing that. Keep doing that and keep doing that. And soon your attitude begins to change to be more of one of gratitude. You
Yeah.
answer those 3 questions and you begin to have more gratitude.
Great. And for any tips to our listeners today, waking up with gratitude. I mean, I like to wake up and say, I'm thankful I have a 6-year-old. I wake up every day hugging and kissing them, grateful, thankful to be alive that I could share this day with them. And I really do put things into perspective. Before I had kids, I wasn't that grateful. Now you really, as I'm older, you start seeing things differently. And then I lost my mom 4 years ago. Life
Oh,
experiences and just maturity makes you start to grow and to learn all things that we wish we knew then, right? But it wouldn't make us who we are today.
that's
So
right.
yeah, I think being grateful every day is something I think everyone should do. Wake up and talk about what's grateful or write it down, right?
Write it down. That's a gratitude project that
Yep.
I encourage people to do. Every morning, write down one thing you're grateful for and focus on that throughout the day.
Okay.
And then the next day, in the morning, write down something you're grateful for. It could be simply that you woke up and opened your
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
It could be that you're able to walk and get out of bed and walk. It could be that simple. It could be that your neighbor brought you some food, some dessert, and you're really grateful that they did that for you.
Yeah.
So every day for 21 days, do that. And
Okay.
I promise you that at the end of that 21 days, you will have done a bit of a shift and your mindset will be different. You'll be able to look at things with more appreciation in your life. In other words, with gratitude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
you know all about that, Jill. If you have
Yeah.
children, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And what else do you suggest to our listeners that you can help with? I mean, the gratitude journal, that's a great idea. Working with you, what is it like to work with you? What types of things do you do? And other words of encouragement? And, you have to be ready to change and you have to be ready to commit. Right. And then once they
Mhm.
commit with you, what's the process of working together?
We go through the Yippy method.
Okay.
And Yippy
Yippee.
is an acronym. It stands
Mm-hmm.
for yearn, investigate, process, practice, evolve, and empower. It's a very powerful little acronym, that is. In the yearn stage, there are 5 subcategories that we discuss. We start out with awareness, because the first thing we need to do is become aware of where we are in our lives with things.
Yeah.
The second thing we look with is willingness.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be willing to do everything. It takes willingness for everything in our lives. We need to be willing to become aware. We need to be willing to look with open eyes and open heart. We need to be willing to be
Okay.
grateful.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be willing to forgive.
Okay.
The willingness is a real cornerstone of the practice of forgiveness. And then we go on to letting go. Let go of trying to be right. The need to have your own way and trying to control and manage everything. And if you let go of those three things, trust me, your life will begin to change. You will know more peace then than you know now.
Yeah.
If you learn to let go of those three things.
Great.
They're harder than they seem.
And they
We
sure
all
are.
want to be right, correct?
I know. Well, Carolyn C.J. Jones, thank you for your time today. Please let's remind our listeners how they can get in touch with you. I know CarolynCJJones.com, great form of contact for you. What else?
Carolyn C.J. Jones at yahoo.com. And you can call me at 415-686
Mm-hmm.
0888.
Perfect. And thank you so much for your time, for being here, and for joining us today. It's a pleasure to get to see you in person again. For those on the radio side, we're also on a live Zoom as well. Beautiful to get to see you face to face. And thank you for sharing your experience, your journey, and all you went through, and the fact you're here to help so many people. And by the way, good luck with that wrist. It's the left one.
Thank you.
You heal well, okay? You get better soon. All right. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners, thank you. Stay tuned. More of the show is on the way.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.